Kadam suyade pidurgeha kaudukam nisamyadega suryavaryan ningade anahutapi abhiyanti saurdam bhartur guru dega kridascha ketanam. Kadam how suyate suyataha of a daughter piturgeha kaudukam, the festival of the house of her father, nisamya, hearing, deha, the body, suravarya, O best of the demigods, not engaged, disturbed, anahutaha, without being called api, even abhiyanti goes, saugurdam, a friend, bhartu of the husband, guru of the spiritual master, deha krataha of the father, cha and kedanam, the house. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There is no purport in this verse. Translation: O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festival event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considered that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. So here, we all know that the scenario, what's happening, the Daksha Prajapati is going to perform a yagya for which the whole demigod and everybody lives in the heavenly planets, all Suravaryas are being invited. And we all know that who is Sati. Sati is the 15th daughter of.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt. What is the purpose of this yajna that Daksha is performing suddenly?
Yeah, yagyas were, see, now in this age of Kali, for anything what we do, we will the Vaishnavas normally are all for the sake of attaining the supreme, we chant the holy name. In Dwapara Yuga, it was for anything, for health issues, for material or spiritual advancement. It was parijaryayam, that means for the temple worship and going to pilgrimages. And in Treta Yuga, it was yagya. Though this is happening in Satya Yuga, it was for dhyana, but in this incident happening in Satya Yuga, but still the yagya was introduced. So if one does not have children, yagya, or if one want to show the superiority and get some, invite all demigods and get the benefit out of it, that for yagya. So yagya, even in this age of Kali also, it's happening in many places for them to get some gain. Here the Daksha Prajapati is also showing up his pride that I am the one who is in the response of creating the progeny. So I am also capable of inviting and do the yagyas, calling so many brahmanas and do this one, so that he is trying to gain some sort of austerity, some sort of opulences out of it. This kind of things happening. So here, just before this yagya, the previous yagya, what happened we knew. Lord Shiva and Brahma, they were not giving due respect to Daksha Prajapati when he entered, which is by spiritual injunction rightly done, because though Lord Shiva was the son-in-law of the Daksha Prajapati, but in spiritual hierarchy he is much above him. So he don't have to. So the material hierarchy is just for material life, which is actually temporary. But the spiritual hierarchy is permanent. Even if we see closely after this incident, what happened? Lord Shiva was not agitated at all. Even after Daksha Prajapati blasphemed like left and right, and he was giving all provocative words to provocate Lord Shiva, but he did not speak anything. But what happens? But the devotees of Shiva, Nandishwara, he was so much agitated, and he started cursing not only Daksha Prajapati and also who assembled there. And then what happens? The counter cursing by Durvasa. So then cursing and counter cursing.
Bhrigumuni counter curse.
Sorry, Dhruva Maharaj.
Bhrigumuni.
Sorry, Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. So it is happens.
Bhrigumuni.
Sorry. Huh?
Bhrigumuni. Bhrigu.
Yeah, correct. Sorry. Bhrigumuni was the one agitated. So it is happening cursing and counter cursing. So to avoid this one, this time Shiva decided to not to go. Bhrigumuni is a Brahmana, and we are going to study about that in this canto. Bhrigu is not happy with what the Nandishwara was saying. But even in that time also, like Jada Bharata was when he was in an elevated state of mind, even though he was in a Jiva Tattva, he was so much equilibrium he was showing, not agitated by anything of what's happening around. Here also, Lord Shiva was showing his Jiva Tattva, he was so ideal. But here in the next yajna, knowing that all her family members are there, she wants to go. So he's putting her arguments. Then Lord Shiva is saying, he was not going because he understood that you don't want to go there and get unpleasant things happening there. But she's putting her arguments, saying that no need for getting an invitation to go to one's father's house, friend's house, husband's house, spiritual master's house, or father's house. This is her argument to go. The verse 14. Tanme prasidadam amritya vanchitam kartum bhavan karunaiga bhatarhadi tvayatmanorateham abad adabrachau saukchusa nirupita manugrahana yachita. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. So she wants to go, and she also inviting Lord Shiva. So she's glorifying Lord Shiva. Please be kind enough to me and accept my. And he is knowing that you cannot live like this because I am also your better off. I am your Ardangini. So You have to give respect to my wishes also. Then verse number 15. Rishir Uvacha. Here Maitreya Muni is speaking. Rishir Uvacha. Evam Giritra Priyabhi Bhashita Pradhya Abhyartata Pragasam Sugar Priya Samsmarito Marma Bita Kuvag Ishnu Yan Agako Viswasrajam Samakshadaha. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailasha, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Daksha before the guardians of the universal affairs. So after this verse, Lord Shiva is going to speak. The Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the Kailasha, having thus been addressed by her dear wife, replied smilingly. He was not agitated. Then he is going to reply in the coming verses. Although at the same time, he remembered the malicious or piercing speeches delivered by Daksha. This is, he is referring to the previous incident, what happened, and after that, what happened between the devotees. So the purport. When Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe, and remembering those words, he was sorry at heart, although he pleased his wife. To please his wife, he smiled. So he's setting an example here. So he has fixed his mind that we should not go, and certain unpleasant things should not happen this time. Please wait a minute, I'll come a second. Though he has fixed his mind, but he don't want to make a mess out of that, and he just smiled as his wife. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the liberated person is always mental equilibrium in both distress and happiness of this material world. The material world is like this, dualities will be there. So one who is spiritually realized, he will not give much due respect to the both of this one, and then he will be in equilibrium on both sides. Bhagavad Gita explains in many verses. Sukha dukkha samakrutva, and many others verses. Labho, alabho, if he is in a gain, if in a loss, he will be in the same position. Therefore, the question may now be raised, why liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of these words of Daksha? Exactly, obvious question. The answer is given by the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Shiva is Atma Rama. Atma Rama is the name given to Lord Krishna also, are situated in complete self-realization. But because he is incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, Tamo Guna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pains of this material world. So, as we are conditioned, though he is spiritually fully potential, he is a Shiva Tattva, but he is in charge of, he has manifested this form to demonstrate the Tamo Guna. So when he is in this one, he started feeling the pleasure and pains of the worldly happening. This was though he is Atma Rama, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this explanation. The difference between the pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute. Qualitatively absolute means, though it will look like pains and pleasures are happening, but the effect will not be there. So both will be the same condition, because in absolute state, there won't be any dualities. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but in the manifestation of so-called pain is always full of bliss. So here, there only bliss will be explained, because once somebody is there, they will be in fully cognizant about what is happening, and they are eternal, and they are always in the blissful state. So when one is in always in blissful state, so how can they succumb to the miseries of this spiritual world? So there is no misery there. There is no duality. So what is happening there? In the past times, so-called miseries may kind of thing happen, but that also will give full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother Yashoda, and the Lord Krishna cried. Crying means what? One is showing their helplessness in distress. But Krishna was not demonstrating and was not showing crying to do this one. This is like a simply pastime. This is also give pleasure even today, after this happened in the previous millennium, previous yuga. But still we are very happy to discuss about that, because Krishna was not crying in agony or in misery, but he was crying as a pastime. And in such situation, that pastime also gives bliss to the devotees. But although he shed tears from his eyes, this is not to be considered as the reaction of mode of ignorance, for the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. So this is the case of Krishna. He was not, he knew that what is happening. He knew that what is going to happen. He know that what will happen after this. So everything he knows. But Lord Shiva, he is feeling pleasure and pain, because he has accepted the mode of ignorance, and he lives and he represents that. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis. But actually such dealings were full of transcendental bliss. Many times, because if we see 10th canto in the Krishna book, that the dealings between Krishna and gopis, they were always complaining Krishna, but they always, in totality, they were in eagerness to receive Krishna. And even when they come to Mother Yashoda, complain about that the son comes and spoils everything, including butter. And after, when they go back, hey Yashoda, because don't chastise your Kanaya for this complaint. The very purpose of we keeping this butter is only for him to come and do it. So it is all is in pastimes of that. So when Krishna did all this mischievous, it seemingly gave distress to gopis, but actually such dealings were full of transcendental bliss. That is the difference between the material and spiritual worlds. The spiritual world, where everything is pure, is perverted, reflected in this material world. It looks like same but opposite. The chaya, the shadow of the original happening is happening here. So here we cannot. Prabhupada says, in spiritual world, the word sugar and the object sugar, both will be sweetie. But here only sugar will be sweetie, and the word sugar will not be sweetie. In the absolute, there is no difference. Here we have only perverted reflection of this in this material world. Since everything in this spiritual world is absolute, the spiritual varieties, apparent pleasure and pain, is no perception other than this eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although he is a fully self-realized person, was in charge of material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow. So it gives very clear why it is happening so. So Lord Shiva is understood and misunderstood in scriptures in many ways. Some people, according to their understanding, according to their study material and their modes of material nature, they perceive Lord in many ways. Lord Shiva had very special qualities which he demonstrated throughout all Vedic scriptures. But as I said, this is being received by different people who are in different modes of material nature, and according to that, they perceive Lord. We must understand the reasons why Lord Shiva take up this kind of position in material world. The first tier of universal management consists of three executives, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. We all know that. Each is such a powerful controller that they are sometimes given the equal status within Vedic literature and inaccurately called in Hindu cult, it is this Trimurti, we call them Trimurti, the Hindu Trinity. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva are all Trimurtis. We call them like this. This is given by the poor fund of knowledge gives this to brings them to this conclusion. In Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Lord Vishnu is God, are full of are a full expansion of Lord Krishna. We all know that who is Vishnu? It is the expansion. Lord Vishnu is expansion of original Krishna. From original Krishna, Baladev from first quadruple expansion, Vasudeva Sangarshana Pradyumna Niruddha, and then Narayana from the second quadruple expansion. This Mahavishnu is coming. Mahavishnu, for the creation of the material world, these three Vishnus are appeared. So it is from Sankarshana, these three Vishnus, Karanadaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Kshiravadaksha Vishnu are expanding themselves. Srimad Bhagavatam gives as. So Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Vishnu is God, or full of expansion of Krishna. Whereas Brahma is a finite soul, like Jivatma, he is not a Vishnu Tattva. And Shiva is in a category of his own. He is neither Jiva Tattva nor Vishnu Tattva. His own category called Shiva Tattva, slightly less than the God. Both Brahma and Shiva are servants of Vishnu, empowered by him for universal work. One is empowered for Srishti, other one is empowered for Samhara. Sthiti is held by Lord Vishnu himself. Vishnu is in charge of primary creation as well as the maintenance of the modes of goodness. So The sthiti factor is the mode of goodness. He is maintaining himself. But if you see, original creation is by Lord Vishnu only. That is why the sarga is done by him and visarga is done by Lord Brahma. Brahma is in charge of secondary creation or visarga, and he is in the mode of passion. Lord Vishnu is in the mode of goodness. Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance. Shiva is in charge of destruction or annihilation, so he is in the mode of ignorance. So it is very clear. These three modes are taken by three of these personalities: Lord Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. Brahma is the Jiva Tattva and Vishnu is Vishnu Tattva. Working under these powerful controllers are many demigods. Many demigods working under these three powerful demigods are devas, empowered to fulfill universal duties. As departments within a city, government manage the delivery of water, electricity, and devatas oversee the material world. The material world, they need so many devatas to look after their specific duties. So we should not mistakenly worship the devas are God as God. So devas are given certain empowerment and duty for the worldly affairs, and then we should not mistake them. When we see the ministers of independent charge like a railway or aviation or surface transport or finance or military, they have full power to think about, maintain, manage and everything. But there is one more minister called Prime Minister is overlooking them, and they can control them, even they can change them. Similarly, these devatas are given certain assignments and they are looking after this one, but they are all working under the Lord. Maya Dikshene Pragrde Suye Desa Characharam. Even the moving and non-moving are all working under my direction, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. We should not mistakenly worship Lord Devatas or God. We are indebted to them, but they supply life's necessity on God's behalf, using his energies. And we can pay our debt to them by worshipping them, by satisfying Krishna. All his servants are satisfied. How is that? By Indradev is giving water, Suryadev is giving sunlight, but if we pray Krishna, they all get satisfied because they are all serving him. Yata tarur moola nisechenena tripti and the skanda upashagaga. Like that, when we pour the water into the root of the tree, the whole tree gets nourished. Similarly, if we worship Lord Achyuta, the Lord Krishna, and then all demigods get satisfied. Shiva is among the most widely worshipped deities in India. We also, particularly in South India, we see most of them are the names of such as Mahadev. So that's why they call Mahadev the great God. And they call him in many names: Nataraja, the king of dance. So in the South India, if you see, there are so many names for Lord Shiva. He is venerated in ancient holy cities like called Banaras. If we go Banaras, Kashi, there are every single day so many devotees are coming. The fact is, he is supreme. As the scripture says, Srimad Bhagavatam is supreme, is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly mentioned 12.13.16. The supreme among the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme among all the Puranas. The Ganga is the greatest of all rivers. Lord Achyuta, Vishnu, is the best among all deities. And Lord Shambhu, Shiva, is the greatest among devotees. Vaishnavanam Yadur Shambhu. Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.16. So according to this, and similar statement in other scriptures, Shiva may correctly be considered the greatest of all devotees. But among gods, the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the top. This is made clear as far as back in Rig Veda 1.22.20. It says, the lotus feet of Vishnu are the supreme object of all demigod, though those lotus feet of the Lord are the enlightened as the sun in the sky. So all the demigods are enlightened by worshipping Lord Vishnu. This is in Rig Veda 1.22.20. Shaivites, however, tend to see Shiva not just as the greatest of devotee, but as God himself. There is some basis for this in scripture. In Bhagavatam 4.7.50, the same canto which we are reading after 4 chapters, the Lord Vishnu himself says, Brahma, Lord Shiva and I are the supreme cause of the material creation. So he is saying, Lord Vishnu is saying, we three are same. I am the super soul, the self-sufficient witness, but impersonally, there is no difference between Brahma, Lord Shiva and me. That's why they are saying all are three. In other words, all three divinities are one because they are all avatars, or descendants of the Supreme, for the creation, maintenance and annihilation of the material world. In this context, they are known as Guna avatars. One came for Satoguna, one came for Rajasic Guna, and the other came for Tamasic Guna. And they preside over the modes of passion embodied by Brahma, the creator. Goodness embodied by Vishnu, and the ignorance embodied by Lord Shiva. All three of these avatars are considered aspects of the same principles of Godhead. In Mahabharata 2, Anusasana Parva 135 says that Lord Vishnu and Shiva are non-different, and even counts names of Shiva, Sarva, Sthanu, Ishana, and Rudra. Names traditionally identify with Shiva. Among the thousands of Lord Vishnu, such identifications between Shiva and Supreme Lord seemingly gives weight to the idea of contemporary Hinduism that the gods mentioned in the Vedic literatures are one. But a close study of the scriptures shows that while there is reason to see Shiva as a non-different from Vishnu, there is also reason to distinguish between them. According to the Bhagavad Gita, which is accepted nearly all class of transcendentalists in India, including Vaishnavites and Saivish, Vishnu name is the ultimate Godhead, to whom even Shiva must bow down. This is not a matter of opinion or sectarian prejudice. Krishna identifies himself as the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Mattas sarvam pravartade. Everything emanates from me, and he is saying. And Arjuna confirms this in the 10.12. He is saying that Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. So he's saying everything, you are the pure, and I am seeing everything in your thing. So Krishna is the God of all gods of the Vedas. So Shiva is clearly mentioned by scriptures that he is the greatest of all devotees who are serving the Lord Vishnu. for the assigned duty as the annihilator or destroyer of this material world. So he is in the mode of ignorance. So sometimes he feels and pleasures of the worldly happenings. That is why he is saying that I will not go to this Yagyashala of Daksha Prajapati. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Any questions or comments or any additions? Yeah, in North India also Lord Shiva is in many places, because Lord Shiva is easily pleasable. Many things are there, and as far as the material world is concerned, he can approach easily and given boons also. Like many cases, we know that Vrakasura later becoming Bhasmasura case. He was pleased and given the boon that whomever I touch, they should become ash. Then he wanted to test Lord Shiva only. Then he came, ran behind him. Shiva was in such a jinx, what to do? Then finally, he came to Lord Vishnu and took his shelter and see, I am very pleased with this. And I gave him this boon. Now he is going to make me into ashes. He want to test on my head. Please help me. Then Vishnu said, okay, don't worry, I will help you. And then he said, Vrakshasura, when he came, where are you running? No, I saw Lord Vishnu coming here. Sorry, Lord Shiva. He gave this, but I want to test, but he is not standing. You are a fool. Who will give such a boon? There is no such boon only. Nobody can give such boon. It is simply a bluff. You please go on. No, I want to test. Come on, I am saying that for your assurance, you can just touch your head, then you will see nothing is happening. Then he touched and he became into ashes. So in this way, Lord Shiva was protected by Lord Vishnu. So in many instances, similar ways, Lord, and some cases for their argument, Lord Rama came and worshipped Lord Shiva in Rameswaram, something like that. But these are all having specific reasons in Valmiki Ramayana. It is very clearly kept. It is like only to show the etiquette who is already presiding there, so he came there and worshipped him. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Krishnaren Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Nothing, I'm wondering, nothing to discuss. Very clear. In the last few classes also, the same thing has been discussed. So
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Anita Mataji, Hare Krishna. Do you have anything to say?
I also don't have anything to say, but you were saying lastly that Lord Rama also worshipped Shiva, right? So there is actually one pastime. Pastime saying, which means the same thing was discussed once in our yatra also. So that time I had this doubt, why Lord Rama worshipped Shiva. So they narrated that since Lord Rama has taken the form of human form, means it's in the human form, he is worshipping Lord Shiva just to give the glories to the devotees. Means since Shiva is devotee of Lord Krishna, to give him glorious, to make him glorious, Lord Rama has worshipped him like that. They told.
Yes, Mataji. Very good, Mataji. Very good explanation. So, to simply, if we want to understand, if a prime minister enters any other ministry, like a finance ministry or any other ministry, the minister will be sitting on his majestic seat. And the Prime Minister, when he enter, he will not give that seat. And the Prime Minister will ask him to sit there, and he will sit on the opposite. So the visitor's seat. That does not mean that he is below him. In many times in the school days, if we see the principal or college days, principal walk around, the lecturer will be sitting on his seat in the classroom. When he comes, he will not leave the seat and ask the principal to sit there. Principal will ask him to, you sit there, and then he will sit on the student's chair also, just for a pastime, for something, for a few minutes, and then he will walk away. So these are all the Maryada Vidikrama, that's all.
Yeah, perfect.
Hare Krishna. Seema Mataji, Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions?
No question, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Excellent class, Prabhuji.
No class at all. No preparation. I was reading purport and whatever comes in my mind, I was saying. I was too tired today. We had Onam celebration at my home. About 50 devotees just left. I was preparing so many items, and Onam Sadhya is like this. So everybody left, and so tired. Then I thought, who is speaker today? Oh, today's Sunday. I have to only speak. Then I came and extempore, I spoke something. Thank you, Mataji. We'll meet tomorrow.
Very nice
Fresh and
class,
very nice class by Ajit Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatrupescha kripasindhu bevicha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo ananta kodi vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Jagat Purush Prabhupada ki nitai balai gaur kanai ki jai.
Rameswar Prabhu ki jai.
Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai. We'll see tomorrow, Prabhu. Thank you so much.